Okay, so welcome to our Vector Forum 2026. My name is Christoph Ebert. I'm responsible for the consulting activities in Vector, and I'm very glad to have today with me Binoy Paul, who is with Mahindra and is the product division head of software solution and technology with Mahindra and Mahindra Automotive. He has a very impressive background, having been in industry about 30 years. Currently responsible for a huge team of more than 1,000 engineers in Mahindra and responsible for all the electronics, electric software, and future innovation topics. And that also brings us to the topic of this Vector Forum, which we call Intelligent Innovation, because we see a lot of innovation. We see also a lot of AI, and we see a lot of intelligence in the R&D teams. And we want to have best practices from leading companies, which would then allow us to also learn for our own innovation. Now, just getting into a couple of details. Briefly, who we are. Vector Group is about 4,500 people worldwide active, and we work in India, we work in Asia in different places, we work Europe, we work in US, where I'm currently. And in consulting activities, we support clients on transformation, trust, technology, and transfer these results across different industries. Our Vector Forum had been started with the founding of Vector Consulting 20 years ago. So it's our 20th anniversary today. And the Vector Forum always takes a important topic which at the moment really matters, and that is these days certainly AI, certainly how can we innovate in all the challenges which we face in global economics. And that is nicely summarized in a recent industry survey which we did with our customers and partners. You see on that picture left, horizontally short-term challenges, vertically midterm challenges. And in that picture, you see that the biggest challenge is innovation. And the reasoning behind, simply speaking, is we had been for the past years first in a competence trap. We had not enough competence. That was 22, 23, the result of the survey. We directly moved into the cost challenges, which we still face today. You see also cost is on position 2. And in that trap, often innovation suffers. And therefore, the message in simple word is, yes, we have to cut innovation, we have to cut cost, but we should not cut innovation. And we are going to elaborate on that in the course of this Vector Forum. The layout is as we are used to for those who have been there before, and for others it's also quite easy. Vector Forum is always 1 hour, every third Thursday in the month, and we have a short intro which we currently see. Then we have the presentation. Today, Binoy Paul from Mahindra. Then we have Q&A, and that's the real value because it's a live event. You can participate, directly ask your questions, and I will then moderate the Q&A. We are using WebEx. We have, in case of any sort of IT problem, we will use Teams as a backup. In that case, just have a look to your email, because you would then send a mail to all registered participants about what is the link of this backup. For now, don't worry, we trust things run well. Your questions can be directly posted on this WebEx chat box, which you know from using WebEx. We also have a 1-question survey ongoing with Sido, which you should also see on your screen. And that's kind of your own interaction to show how you are satisfied with what's going on in your own innovation. And for all the other topics, I will not go to read everything, but one thing which I always want to make sure is make sure wherever you are that you know what to do in an emergency. That is always a good precaution. we're active on risk management, and that's certainly the one which matters most. Vector Forum 26 has 8 presentations throughout the year from today, which is the inaugural start of Vector Forum, until November. We have different industries, we have different players, different leading companies across the world, in India, in China, in Europe, in America. And so I look forward that we see each other again in the next sessions. And you see it's always the third Thursday in the month. Timing hopefully is okay for everybody. It's in Europe, the mid of the day, Asia evening, US morning, and it's feasible. I mean, we have already daylight here, so it's fine. West Coast is a little bit more difficult, but I trust that everybody finds its way. And if you want to join further on, once you are registered, you should also get the invitation then for this Vector Forum for next. Let me briefly, and that's also my last slide before I hand over to Binoy Paul, position this topic. The challenge with innovation is these days that everybody invests in AI, and AI really yields a lot of benefit on the task level, such as using co-pilots for software. Software development is currently undergoing a dramatic change, but often it doesn't scale. It doesn't scale into business value. It doesn't scale into a measurable impact. And at the same time, we are in this cost trap and have to be careful that we really show the value. And therefore, what we are going to dive deep here is how can we unchain the value from intelligent innovation and therefore really get into measurable business impact by using software-defined architectures, software factories, having the right competences which we need in the future, but also we need to reorganize to break silos from engineering into product management, into business, so we can achieve what we call lean innovation. And that said, I suggest that we just go ahead now and hand over, and glad again to have Binoy here. And Binoy, you can now just share and move forward with your presentation, which I'm really eager to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Let me share this deck. Good morning, good afternoon to all of you. Am I audible, Doctor? All well?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, thank you. So we at Mahindra went on a journey to make our vehicles SDV, and I will share some of the experiences which we went through in this in these 30 minutes, and then over a Q&A. The idea is that we share our lessons learned so that your journeys on a SDV path can also be easier a little bit than what we went through. I have my colleague Pawan also along with me. We will have an interactive session after I went through some of the slides. I'm Binoy Paul, as Dr. mentioned, based out of India, heading engineering in Mahindra and Mahindra for auto and commercial vehicles and passenger vehicles. I'll play a video first. This. All right. Hope it was playing well in your screens on WebEx. We have to, on any sharing platforms, you'll have to always be a little bit worried when you play videos. I hope it worked well. So what is Maya? Maya is Mahindra Artificial Intelligence Architecture. So typical SDV platforms, um, it's very similar to whatever you would have seen. It's more of a textbook approach to SDV, but it was something which we created 3-4 years back now. For 4.5 years back, we envisaged it and implemented it. We have 55,000 vehicles out there in the market today, which runs this architecture. It's a centralized domain-based architecture. It's 100% OTA compliant, called deeper OTA, cyber secure by design. Has multi-screen cockpits. In India, we are still in the journey of creating a lot of cockpit content. And the biggest feature sets which we are trying to enable in this architecture is a lot of cockpit components, cockpit feature sets, and automated parking, L2 ADAS. Those are the key feature sets. And this is an architecture which we created as a powertrain agnostic. Mahindra is a SUV maker. Traditionally, ICE engines. We went into an EV journey as a big push, and we are today. No, we are the seventh, or we are the first. We are the top maker of SUVs in India, and we are the number one EV maker by revenue in India. By the way, we are also the number two passenger vehicle maker in India. So that's a scale. It is scaled up very well in the last 18 months of production. This is in the hands of our customers, and a lot of positive feedback. People know the product is well received in the market. This architecture is also AUTOSAR based, which also helped us in moving very fast. There's a lot of debate around AUTOSAR. I'll get into that detail in the next slides. Just a view of the compute which goes into it, 220K DMIPS, multiple billion transistors. I think anybody who's in the automotive industry would understand these numbers. This is cutting across um, four different high performance compute. Um, what we is this? Okay. Okay, yeah. I'm just having this trouble with the speaker window coming in between. All right. So it's more feature oriented, more high-end feature oriented, a lot of intelligence inbuilt, 5G connectivity, so which is always connected, which helps us into a lot of streaming applications. So if you look at the layer of the domain architecture which we put together, there's always a hardware, software, middleware application, but we also thought through the cloud as an integral part of the whole architecture. So it's we are not calling it a hybrid architecture or anything, but we are always connected to the cloud architecture. So that way, there is a possibility to get into hybrid computes and compute sharing and varianting and things like that. So the concept with which we went, and this is just a drawing board which Pao and my colleague in the call put together when we started thinking about it like 4 or 5 years back. How should it work? We looked at three boxes of compute connected over Ethernet. We wanted DOIP to start always. We wanted a DOIP-based system. We wanted a fully connected V2X approach, 5G approach. Um, we always knew there will be a lot of camera feeds to be handled. We always wanted to have very high level of GPU capabilities, and we went into two speeds on Ethernet, and the zonals were also initially we looked at also CAN-FD is a big part of it to the underlying ECUs. And we also wanted the OTA to be very flexible. So we have and an orchestrator, a deployer, all of that rightly sized and packaged to ensure that we don't lose the safety part of it, but we also don't lose the agility part of it in an OTA and architecture. We looked at MSA, we looked at different definitions of how do we do the APIs. Frankly speaking, AutoSAR, Adaptive AutoSAR was not in the drawing board initially. Then we looked at multiple architectures, and then we realized that we should go with a industry standard architecture. So this is how we finally came up with. Of course, a big part of the decision making is also the SOC decisions. So on the cockpit, we went on an 8295, 8155 hypervisor system, which is pretty much an industry standard nowadays. So that brought in QNX and Android anyway. Then we brought in no, on the QNX, we got adaptive AutoSAR layer so that we can bring in third-party software components into it. And one of the biggest need of the hour was, as Doctor mentioned, do look at cost, but don't reduce innovation speed. So how do we bring innovative solutions, mostly innovative around software, into a hardware compute, centralized compute? That was one of the fundamental need for creating an SDV. SDV is a very, very widely discussed topic, and every OEM and every business need are very different. In Mahindra's case, the business need was the product has to be always refreshed and available to the customer. EV buying is a very in India, the EV penetration is very low. There has to be good reason for the customer to buy an EV. It is more expensive than an ICE. So what is the additional value we can bring? What is the peace of mind we can bring to them? It's always connected. It's always going to be upgraded. It is always going to be getting more features. So your resale value concerns in EV, there are a lot of those concerns. So how can we mitigate that business challenges in EV? That was a fundamental idea. The other one was there is a mature ecosystem available. There is enough compute which is coming in, centralized compute chips from Qualcomm and NXP and Renesas and TI. It's all getting very mature and available, and a lot of that solutions are already there. Those integrations are already being done. So why don't we leverage those? So that is how we went about. Also, in an SDV journey, one of the things which one of the biggest decision making is make versus buy. Picking the partners. One is architecture. The other is the architecture decisions are also sometimes depend upon the maturity of the partner, maturity of the solution. Not only the technical solution, it's also the agility of that solution, the support system of that solution. And we being in India, no, so we could go down a path. There's a bookend of SDV, I would say, is that OEM does all the software. The other bookend is OEM only orchestrates the architecture. We went in between. We decided that all customer features, software will be owned by Mahindra. All middleware and standard components will be bought out and provided by Mahindra to the tier one so that we get a common architecture. And any solutions which are already there, any IP which is already there, will be used as it is. We offer a architecture which can host it without any IP infringements. These are fundamentals to the architecture which we took decisions on. And lower risk, faster to market, go for a globally accepted architecture. And that's when we moved into AutoSAR and Adaptive AutoSAR we zeroed in, because when we look at deleting ECUs, integrating a lot of IP into a central compute, for example, we wanted a power operator tailgate, and we didn't want to do an ECU. We didn't want to put an ECU there. The power operator tailgate software, the logic is available in AutoSAR from the tier one. The tier one who supplies a mechanical system also supplies ECU. We told him we don't want that ECU. We want your software available in an AutoSAR environment. And we host that in our zonal architecture, zonal compute. And the zonal compute is done by another tier one. So with AutoSAR and Adaptive AutoSAR, we got a lot of advantage because the language which we use is known to everybody. There is no specification, API requirements, all of that. We put it into prevision. We share that model, and the interface discussions are much more smoother, right? API discussions are smoother. API definitions are smoother. So we looked at those angles also. How can we make the working life between the partners easier? How do we reduce the friction in how we develop these products? Okay, so the same thing on the cockpit side of also. So on the cockpit side, we have uh, AR, augmented reality HUD in our cars, but there is no compute in that system. The ECU, the AR HUD manager, the graphics, the algorithms are running in a central compute, cockpit compute, on an adaptive autosar framework, and that software gets developed um, in one country. The hardware of that is developed in another country. The cockpit hardware is developed in one country. The software teams are totally different. We had to do few workshops. I'll talk about it to make some people connects, but the the interface definitions was much more straightforward. Okay, so that helped a lot in this architecture. That was one of the decision making for architectural choices. So I'm talking about some of these business imperatives because many times architectural choices are taken with only technology in mind. But I firmly believe, we firmly believe in Mahindra that any technology and innovation should bring value to the business. And to bring value to business, you have to create differentiation, you have to bring innovation at the right cost, at the right speed. And for that, we take decisions which allows us to do that, right? Um, of course, we went on a software first approach. Frankly speaking, 5 years, 4 years, 5 years back, Mahindra never had a software engineer. We created a software organization around this product, around this project. So multiple things happened over this product development. We actually developed, we as Mahindra also reinvented as an organization. We created a software division within our own organization. We created a architecture. We enhanced our architecture capabilities. We enhanced into software API definitions. We enhanced our knowledge into software quality management. We enhanced our tool chain to add Jira, and we started having all our tier ones using the same tool to share data over a cloud platform. So the 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 mechanism of doing a product development is also very critical, right? Uh, it allowed us to be very fast in changes because in SDV world, we actually create a platform to ensure that we are allowed to do more changes in a way, right? So you have to be very agile. And you also need to do a lot of unlearning in how we manage things because co-opetition is what the journey is, right? There were tier one to tier one. In a historical way, we say, okay, we have a CAN database, this tier one and this tier one, you have to talk over this CAN. OEM decides the CAN interfaces, and they don't have to talk to each other. And they actually are competitors. Now, in an SDV world, you, tier one A software developed has to be fitted and executed on a tier 1B, who is actually the A's competition. But OEM has to enable it without any IP challenges and without any relationships. And so we have to make people work together with a lot of confidence and trust. That matters in an SDV development. When you are doing it with a ecosystem, if you're many times the decision goes that, okay, this is so difficult to manage an ecosystem, so let's do it all in house. That's one of the challenges which many OEMs face. And sometimes the decision making is that, okay, let me control everything, either in house or I outsource. I have an extended team, then that team manages, and the tier ones doesn't have any role to play. We didn't do that way. We gave tier ones the role to play where they are the best, and enable them to collaborate with equal respect and trust amongst themselves. Um, a picture which actually taken in Vector Stuttgart office. We had Vector Consulting and Vector working along with us to put this together um, to ensure that we get it right. We also leverage a lot of expertise globally to help us. We went into this with a very humble mindset that we're trying to do something big. We need anybody who can help. We should leverage. Okay, so it's like an open mind, um, like learning mindset, humble mindset with which we went in, and we got lot of support. And you see this picture, all different supply bases, all of them, all the logos which you see, pretty much lot of global logos you see. All of them are part of our platform. So it is a combined development together in a very collaborative way. We had to double down on this partnership ecosystem approach. For that, this is a journey we went through. So if you look at a few, again, trying to tell the story through pictures, you look at September 2022, we got all the supplier partners in one room, all the architects in one room to talk about what are we trying to achieve here? How are we going to integrate this? What is architecture? Now, of course, it was not always easy. It is not top down here, right? It's when you want to be collaborative, you listen and you improve, and sometimes you are not right, and you have to correct yourself and then move. And then in October 2022, we created an organization called MSDVC, Mahindra Software Defined Vehicle Center. In fact, I always tell this as a joke that team name, that office name, MSDVC, was the only clue to the outside world that Mahindra is working on an SDV in 2022 till we launched. It was a well-kept secret, and a lot of people didn't figure it out till we launched an SDV in India. We went full hog on developing hills and lab cars. We had to expand our lab to a bigger facility that happened in April 2023. Then, of course, most of you who are listening to me are software developers. You know, architecture is good, hardware is come. We start putting it together. That's challenge. And Mahindra is one company who's famous for not delaying any program. So the pressure was back on the team. No delays. It has to be much more tighter in planning. So we went into joint sprint planning. We did big room planning. You all are familiar with this big room planning, agile strategies. Normally happens within the same organization. Here we did it across all organizations, all my tier one partners. Together we did sprint planning in a hill resort in south of India called place called Aircard. Um, then on the compute side, HPCC side, which hardware is done by Active and the infotainment part of the software is done by Active, a lot of software only suppliers gets integrated. They are not traditional tier ones. They are software IP providers. Some of them are startups. Some of them have never worked in automotive, but they have some very good IP which we wanted to use. So then we invited all of them at Active office, did a big room planning for that. So HPCC big room planning. Then we had parking assist system supported by Longhorn in China. We had to do a workshop, a detailed deep dive workshop on all the details. Also a lot of tuning in that by that point in time. The last picture which I have, last postcard which I have is a very interesting thing we do. We create a forum called Automotive Software Technology Supplier Control. It's a conclave, if I can call it that way. Uh, one of the sessions, the keynote address was given by Marcus from Vector. So here again, this is not engineering focused sessions. It is more of a management business focused sessions where we align the business priorities. What are the deliverables, quality, what challenges we face, and we do a 1 day workshop together with the leaders of those organizations, and also align the thought of what are we trying to do. When you're trying to do something new, we have to keep communicating to your partners, and that's a key thing which we achieved. And then you get a shared ownership on what we try to do. And in the background, you see a lot of logos. Again, these are all the partners who work with us. All right. Just in summary, why? Of course, shift to electrification, need for a lot of scale, and also invest in a common platform so that we can scale it and deploy across multiple product lines, ICE, EV, whatever, right? How do we achieve? One team approach, very highly collaborative, agile, parallel development. Of course, CI/CD, I didn't talk about that much. A lot of effort was going into how to build the software in each of the tier one and how to do an automatic trigger of build. How do we do sprint planning with multi builds, mainline build, branch builds, proof of concept builds, uh, enhancing the build ecosystem itself in some cases. You have to actually invest in a lot of servers to run the builds to ensure that we get speed. And we were putting this software together every week. Every week, the software pipeline has been done. It gets integrated in the lab car and hills, and then it goes to the vehicle. So every week, the vehicles which are under test will get software updates. So it's a weekly sprint at a vehicle software level. It's not weekly sprint on a component level. It is a weekly sprint at a vehicle level. Across all issues comes together. Um, lot of advantages. Scalable EV foundation got created, architecture got validated. Of course, we also had architectural changes done. Like when we envisaged first, we had three zonal ECUs. We had a front zonal, mid zonal, and a rear zonal. So we went into a there are multiple ways of doing this in every OEM. We looked at it from our use case, our functionality typically, and we decided that we'll have three zonals. And then we finally figured out that the rear zonal is not getting very busy. So why should we have another ECU? So reintegrate it back to the mid zonal so that we cut some costs there without a lot of architectural data. But we did that mid cycle through the development. It's not like that architecture was sacrosanct. This is an advantage of being in a very nimble, small team who has full control over our destiny. The architecture team could take that decision and get that deployed and developed along with the tier ones within the project timelines. That architectural change didn't cost us additional time. We managed it in a parallel way as the development was going on. So a lot of organizational things, breaking silos, very agile execution, and we didn't do a concept phase in frankly speaking. We actually scaled to reality through this program. Fine. Just few bullet points to summarize again. SDV adoption. We didn't do an SDV for marketing sake. We did SDV because it was the right thing to do for the vehicle. We did good performance improvements, very good feedback, as I said, from the customers. Of course, the challenges were there. It was a big bet. We had constraints, but then there was a lot of leadership support across all organizations. Across, like we had Qualcomm, we had NXP, we had Vector, we had Aptiv, we had Bosch, we had Longhorn, you name it. Like all the leaderships were fully aligned that Mahindra is doing something big. Let's support that dream, if I can call it that way. Of course, that also comes from a lot of leadership level alignments which we managed to get. Most of the things I talked about. One thing again, removing roadblocks, quick decision making, leadership understanding, right? Very, very important. Everybody had an ownership mindset, fully transparent communication. Now, this is very, very important, but very difficult. As an OEM, as I said, we went into this as a team member. No, the hierarchies were not there, and also we respected each of the partners for what they bring in, and ensure that they are fully aware of where we are going, what are the changes, what are the challenges which is driving the changes. Of course, in the details, or let me say, need to know basis. But everybody was taken into confidence for any big changes which we did through the life of the program. Um, and this collaborative model has now become a habit. We continuing with it. We moved on with this SDV platform into the ICE programs also. Uh, we had the 7XO launch. That is a complete SDV. Over-the-air updates across all ECUs. Huge benefit in the market. Customers are not needed to go to dealers. A lot of insights, prognosis going in, deep logging happening. No, we are able to flash ECUs down to the lowest components. Anything on CAN, at least, right, is all OTA capable in our vehicles. Thank you. That there ends my presentation. I'll open up for conversations.
Thank you so much, Binoy, for this really insightful presentation about your journey to make Mahindra a true software-defined company. And I like that one headline, which is that you selected your battles, and you have to really look into where is it worth fighting, because innovation needs hard work. And the title really brings this across. We cannot just innovate by waiting. We cannot just innovate by continuing what we have always been doing. What you show is a real good and illustrative showcase. We also learned about that you heavily network with partners, Vector being one of them, and we enjoy working with Mahindra truly. I'm not sure you were there, but I visited Mahindra some years ago, present on workshop, and the interaction with your engineers was really amazing, because you're eager to learn, you're eager to grow, and I liked it very much, and I hope to see you soon live again.
Yeah. No, so one culture we try to inculcate in our team, and I hope all our partners, is being inquisitive, being hungry. There's lots to be done, and there's a customer who is looking for solution from us, and we can do if you all work together. And that's exactly the point. Like, you have to pick your battles. You have to do what you're good at. You should just allow others who are good at it for what they are good at it. Right? Don't try to reinvent what somebody has already created and is working well. No, that's a fundamental principle. Respect and being hungry. I guess that's the that's the way we try to do this. Yeah.
Yeah. We received quite some questions. I will select some that we dig into over the next 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I think the first one to just get started would be, I mean, we have this theme of intelligent innovation, and one topic is, of course, you have always ongoing activities. I mean, Mahindra doesn't start on the green field. There's always a lot of ongoing fields, so you have to balance. And the question
Yeah.
is, how did you really grow this fast with your innovation without the impact on the R&D
On
efforts
the
which
on
are ongoing?
on the ongoing projects. And I think we are very fortunate to have a very good team, structured team,
Hmm.
uh, deep delegated. Of course, this project had the maximum attention for leaders. The leadership really focused on this because there's a big bet. It's not that other projects were not important, but other projects had a rhythm and it got delivered. Right? It's going on in parallel. We structured in such a way that that is run independently of the leadership time and the architecture team and the innovation. So again, in Mahindra, we don't have a separate innovation team. Every engineer is an innovation engineer. So we only allocate projects based on the demand of the projects. So we don't have a separate innovation organization per se.
So
Um,
it's a kind
that's
of
why
portfolio management where you
it's a portfolio
arbitrate
management.
and take the priorities.
Correct.
Mm.
And that's why everybody, you would have heard a lot of questions from my engineers because they're always learning. Right? There's not one set of people learning, everybody is learning. It's a continuous journey.
Yep. Related to that, there was a question, how do you balance these fast innovation cycles with a need for quality, for safety? In other words, it's again also this balancing aspect of moving forward fast, but not giving up the past, let's call it assets, which you grow.
Oh, yeah, sure, exactly. So, for example, brake systems, airbag systems, the issues are the same in this vehicle and my non-SDV vehicles, right? We continue the safety systems continues the same architecture. The only thing which happened there is we made it OTA compliant. We made the diagnostics part of it changed. So the architectural change on those components were very limited. So again, we pick the right battles. Now we are looking at up integration of many of these. So we started with cockpit and vehicle interfaces as our focus area. Even the ADAS system is a mobilized system. It is something which is a proven system. There's no major re-architecting done. Only interfaces were re-architected. The core component remains the same. Quality, of course, as I mentioned, we had a weekly sprint. So one thing about software development, all of you would agree that first time through is not the mantra there. It's the agility. It's how you analyze the issue, how do you do prevent recurrences, how do you root cause and clean up, right? And that is how we manage the quality. Being very agile, keep and deep testing, like investment in testing, huge investments in testing, as I said, lab cars and whatnot, and multiple vehicles. A lot of additional vehicles are allocated for software testing. Let me tell you that. Like compared to all other program, SDV projects had multiple more vehicles and used for software testing, and we even have created a bigger team within Mahindra who does it. One is a software level testing. The other thing, one important point, since you talked about software, is user view of a software. Like many times, what happens is that the software engineering team tests the software quality, but the user acceptance, or how the user perceive that feature, is something which we tend to miss because, oh yeah, there's a systems engineering requirements done, software is done against the systems requirement, we believe it's right. Many cases in auto industry, and I think I'm sure many industries, the user understanding of the feature, the user experience of that feature is a very important component. So we actually created a new team called user acceptance testing team, which is now like a 50-member team, which we created like 3 years back. So a lot of learning on that area also.
Yeah, indeed, a common failure point which we see is that people think software means many features and neglect the relevance of user experience, and we have to balance that. A related question on that journey to software company was, how did you really get your suppliers into that? I mean, Vector is also a supplier, and so I know that part of the journey, but maybe you can summarize how you partner and also get suppliers aligned with the Mahindra strategy.
As I said, one is, and in the management jargon, I guess people call it servant management. We went in with a very humble view. We have a dream, and we want to make this EVs the world class, best in class feature set, and SDV is a tool for that, right? That's the way we looked at it. And like what we worked with Vector, we were in Stuttgart for a week for a workshop, trying to put together ideas, listening, challenging each other, pushing each other. So there is a trust which gets built up when you are actually collaboratively working with the team. Tier ones also, right? You're very open. You're saying, you tell us what we should do. This is what we want to achieve as an end goal. What are the solutions? What should we do? So the whole architecture is put together with a lot of collaborative thoughts. I still remember huge discussions about uh, should we stay with only QNX or should we go to adaptive AutoSAR on QNX, right? And now we have Alloy Core coming in, but way before Alloy Core, we said we need to run and adaptive AutoSAR on top of QNX, and a huge discussion. Oh yeah, what's the requirement? The QNX is a pretty good platform, all of that, right? And the logic what we deployed is that it's correct, but if I have to bring another tier one's component and run it on this tier one's hardware, a QNX interface definition and management will be much more time consuming, complicated, all of that. If you go to adaptive AutoSAR, there are tool chains available like Prevision. There's also standards available. It becomes much more efficient conversation. Of course, there is a little bit of a tax on the compute, but you take those bets, right? You say, okay, I'm okay with a little bit more of compute and a little bit less of performance. Of course, again, then I got an 8295, so performance I wouldn't mind. I would not have a problem, but I get a benefit of faster development. If I can call it, I smoothen the whole development process by going for standard architectural solution. And that was a big discussion with the both the tier ones. Oh no, we don't. We are so used to just running it on QNX. Why do you want to push us on adaptive AutoSAR and all that, right? But there is a business logic. There is a efficiency. There is a relation. There is a way of working to be considered when we take such decisions. It's not a, as I said earlier, it is not a pure technology decision. Many a times, architecture decisions are not technology decision. They are also a business decision, right?
Yeah. And along that, you mentioned that one factor was that you had to break up silos in order to achieve collaboration. And that's also our experience. I mentioned also the same word, breaking the silos. But that means also new workflows. It also means that people have to much more collaborate than before, and also look much more left and right than the traditional, more task-based approach. So what would be some recommendations you could give us about how to break the silos and still keep the people focused on delivering?
So again, if when I say I will be a lot more managerial in my in my views, but I would say trust, building trust between teams is very important. On a transactional or on a day-to-day level, also having the right tool chains, right? Having a right API definition tool chain, having a right planning tool chain, having a right defect management tool chain, creating visibility, right? We use Jira, and we have the Jira data synced like every 2 hours or every 1 hour between our tier one and Mahindra. So there is no ambiguity on. It's a common truth. Like ground truth is same data. Everybody look at the same data. There's no hide and seek. There is no smoke and mirror there, right? So you're all looking at the same thing. You're sharing. You're openly discussing. You're openly looking at the bigger benefit of the product. Put that alignment. Everybody will work together when they have the product in their mind and the right freedom and the confidence that they can also challenge the OEM, right? That is a very big thing. The partners should feel confident that they can actually go and challenge the OEM, and they will listen and they will adapt and they will improve for the product's benefit. Now that's the mindset which helps a lot, really. Pawan, anything you want to add to that? You are more on the day-to-day getting people aligned. Pawan is the architect who put it all together. I'm representing the entire team. Pawan, you want to add something to it? Pawan, you may be on mute.
So you covered it really well. I think the openness by which each one of us interacted, the step-by-step decisions were taken in a common forum, I think that allowed that silos to be broken. It's only when you take it independently, not knowing the reason why you took the decision, I think that silos are formed then. By breaking that barriers, I think that flow helped a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, Pawan. So it's purely an ecosystem play, I would call it, right?
It is. Yes. Yeah. So there's also many technical questions, but I don't want to go too far. But one set of questions is around the SDV evolution, or SDS, software-defined systems. Now, the lead question which I see is, will non-SDV architecture gradually fade off? And a related question which I just want to connect is, if we have this SDV approach, that means the hardware is more stable. How do we cope with evolution which would have hardware impact, like memory, real-time performance, etc. So maybe you can connect these technical topics to also give us an insight here.
So see, hardware decisions will be based on the generational changes which the silicon companies will bring in, right? So you will not stay with the same hardware. An architecture will stay, but the hardware will upgrade. So for example, our current vehicles are on a TDA2 system on the parking, but we are working on a TDA4. We have an 8295, but we're working on the next generation of Qualcomm, the A3 series. So the hardware evolution will continue. That can continue without changing the overall software architecture. That is the beauty of SDV. You don't assume that the hardware is fixed. Hardware architecture is fixed. The interfaces are fixed. But the compute can change. And it also will have to scale. So, for example, we have the 8155 is on one variant, 8295 is on one variant, right? It's fixed. It's not like one size fits all. The other question is, do we see non-SDV architectures? Uh, yes, on a very entry level systems, Ethernet and data pipelines may not be required. For example, if you have a system where there's not even an ADAS system, you only have a two-screen cockpit with typical traditional brakes and airbag and door control and body control systems. The value proposition is not there. But there is a value proposition of having an OTA capability. OTA is a big value proposition for every product today, frankly speaking. Okay. Now, just for getting OTA, can you afford a full-blown SDV? No. So we have to now start working on again, I'll pick vector for that, like the microSARS type approaches. We'll have to look at scaling it down. The SDVs are always been a bit of a scaled up system because EVs were always a bit of a scaled up system. Because the compute requirements are higher, the feature requirements are higher, you have to be always connected. So it was kind of the functionality of an EV demanded a high-end architecture. But a low-end architecture, how do we get OTA enabled? And give the customer that SDV comfort is a journey, and it has to scale down. It is possible. Frankly, I can't say more than that. We are definitely working on that, but we'll talk about it once post the launch of those. So yes, SDV is an evolution. It keeps evolve. It will continue to evolve. It will continue to evolve. And it depends on the business needs. But let me be very, 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 very clear, right? One size doesn't fit all. And it has to be flexible. You have to, and as I said, through the development also, we did some re-architecting. So architecture also sometimes has to be upgraded to leverage the latest innovations in the industry. So you have to learn when to jump into that innovation curve, right? And you have to keep watching. So that is why I keep telling, be hungry, be inquisitive, keep learning. You will have to keep an eye. And since you mentioned about AI also, that's another disruptive disruptive compute opportunity, if I can call it that way, which will have an impact on architectures, right?
Thanks so much, Binoy, for this very exhaustive and in-depth answer covering all the transformation aspect, the managerial aspect, and finally also technical questions which came. We had many more questions. We were almost 100 participants in this session. It's recorded, so I also welcome those people who just listened to the recorded version. If you have questions on topics or needs, just contact us at vector.com/consulting. And I will want really to thank you, Binoy, that you took your time to making this excellent presentation on Mahindra and Mahindra evolution path in the direction of software company. And just to give a short outlook, where do we go from here? We will have this forum now every month. So for those of you are interested in more presentations, just join us in future presentations. You find here also some links and the QR to easily connect here. But most relevant, really, thank you all for joining in this excellent presentation of Binoy Paul of Mahindra to our Vector Forum 26. And I want also to thank all our support, which is typically just neglected. We have a big team behind who is doing the marketing, the setup. You know about it. We connected very early on that. I want to explicitly thank our Vector India president, Brahma Patil, because a good friend, and he's so active in connecting with Mahindra. So thanks all of you, and I wish you good success, and hopefully also not only on innovation, but also on really moving into a business-driven innovation in your company towards being more software defined, being more flexible in all that. Thank you so much. And we see each other. Stay tuned.
Thank you. Thank you. Looking forward to 4 more sessions from the forum. Thank you, team. Thank you for all the listeners.
Thanks.